Hi everyone, and welcome to your midweek astrology update brought to you by 1millionnights.com. We have a very active and really fortunate sky playing out today, and it gives me so much pleasure to even pronounce this word because so many of us need it so very badly after almost 2 years of being stuck one way or another in our lives. For some people, it was financial, career-wise, or simply their soul path being totally frozen by Saturn's transit in its home sign of Capricorn, and then joined by Jupiter, which one way or another did make things a little bit worse. For example, it brought forth this powerful economic collapse, the crisis, and that reflected in our personal lives as well. Even for those people who weren't directly touched by it, psychologically, everyone else in their lives suffering, being fearful, panicking, losing hope, losing faith, well, it did affect everyone equally. And even though none of this is going to change instantly today, as in right now, this is where the energies are truly starting to reconfigure themselves. Now, of course, this isn't something that is going to totally change the astrological picture, because, that astrological picture is only going to change in December 2020, but at least we have a week, a small window of opportunity where we can get everything that we need. May it be financial opportunities, a change of fortune, a change of luck, an inner change where simply we embody a totally different kind of faith, one that is much more self-supportive, much more optimistic, but in a very realistic way. This is where we abandon false hopes. We abandon that excessive positivity that everything is going to be okay as if by miracle, and change it profoundly where, yes, absolutely, everything is going to be okay because we are going to make it okay for ourselves. And also in the lives of some really lucky people, this is where luck is really gonna change. In an instant, in a flash, it can be a massive breakthrough. It can be a gift, a donation, an intervention from someone really influential. It can be an epiphany which turns into something like a palpable, really useful solution. Because today the strongest and the most influential aspect is the luckiest, for Jupiter perfects its beautiful, supremely harmonious trine with the Sun in Virgo, and both of these planets speak from Earth signs. So whatever this blessing is, however it plays out in our lives, it is still fortunate, it is still lucky, it is still optimistic, but in a very palpable material way where it can truly offer us a solution or something. And this is perfectly valid even if your situation can be labeled rationally as almost impossible. Sometimes Jupiter, the planet of expansion, the higher benefic, as in bestower of blessings, the planet of good fortune. So simply, if you believe that maybe the universe can help you in any miraculous way, or basically you kind of work with your non-linear, non-physical, non-rational kind of logic, because that is Jupiter, the planet of faith, it can really turn the situation around, especially that we also have a very active Uranus. And even though the conversations of Uranus are already just a faint energy, they're almost over, yet still Uranus is the planet of quantum reality, and quantum reality works in a totally different manner than, the Newtonian kind of physics. And this isn't just speculation, this isn't like spiritual knowledge, this is measured, proven science, exactly what they do at CERN, the Large Hadron Collider. They measure with mirrors, lasers, they collide particles. So this is measured science, this is applied science. And the governing planet of all of that is Uranus. So whenever the Newtonian physics cannot help us, no problem at all, quantum physics can, and our intellect, our highest cerebral activities, especially the unconscious mind, can actually work with that like a charm. But even if we totally leave Uranus out of this picture, well, just think about it. Jupiter and the Sun, from Earth signs, faith, the light of our consciousness, everything who we are, our identity, our earthly identity, and everything that we believe in. This cocktail is actually the recipe for miracles or miraculous turnarounds. Now, of course, even if this energy is exact today, this can also manifest in a much bigger way, on a much larger scale, around the 13th of the month, because that is when Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn is going to stand still in the sky. Now, when a planet stands still in the sky, its symbolism is greatly amplified. It is that much stronger. And whenever Jupiter does this, each and every year, that period when it stops, it is always associated with a massive change of luck, with a massive change of fortune. Many times our deepest beliefs come into existence exactly at that moment. So even if you don't win on the lottery today, or a miracle doesn't enter your life, don't abandon hope, because the expression of this energy is going to last even in the midst of next week. There are a lot of complementary energies in the sky which just make this much more stronger. Mercury in the sign of Libra. Well, Libra rules contracts, legal matters, partnerships of any kind. So Mercury is the planet which is responsible for the flow of things, especially information. That in itself is already a big catalyst. And of course, Mercury forms a beautiful sextile with Venus. So your words, your communication can be that much more magnetic. This is something very good if you're looking, for example, for a job, if you're looking for anything legal, if you're invited for a job interview, if you're looking for any kind of connections, collaborations, any kind of partnerships, yes, absolutely, including romantic ones. And Venus is also in a rather good position because she is in the sign of Leo, so that is where she is very passionate, she is very sensual. Venus in Leo amplifies our self-belief, self-worth, and we not just, internalize all of this, but it helps us that much more to express it, share it, project it onto others. And if done in a very gentle and balanced way, that is always a massive plus, as I said, especially at interviews, exams, even dates. Every time you meet another person or you communicate with another person and just show off your personality, show what you're made of. And sometimes even a touch of overconfidence is something really, really useful. Now, another very important energy is Mars. Mars is going to stand still in the sky tomorrow and prepare to go retrograde the next day. But this is just mathematically speaking. Energy-wise or psychologically, we can already feel this energy playing out, a very, very strong motivational Mars, which adds a sense of urgency to everything. But at the same time, this is where the inner warrior, all of our instincts, all of our survival is infinitely amplified. Well, because Mars is in its home sign of Aries. And if we know how to use this energy, exactly as I said, turn it to motivation, turn it to ambition or at least self-belief. This psychological empowerment, it matters so very much because it makes all the other energies that much more dynamic, that much more influential. So today and until the very end of the week, this is where what you actually believe, what you want, what you desire, what you're fighting for matters from every single perspective, and there is a very strong chance of manifestation because at the same time the sun is gonna go and hold trines with, as in aspects of blessings, with all the Capricorn planets, and regardless of how we look at it, that is manifestation. Capricorn is the sign of earthly manifestation. The sun and Virgo can be considered as all our plans or desires, but in a very planned and logical way. Mars is the fuel. Mars is what makes everything tick. So this week can be a massive breakthrough or a big turnaround of events for so many of us, especially if we have been feeling stuck for so very long. And this kind of energy is not just psychological. As I said earlier, it is physical, it is material, it is very palpable. So whatever blessing enters your life, may it be very small or may it be very big, it is something that matters materially. That can mean finances, that can mean job, that can mean health, or in the weakest expression of it, one of your plans, one of your, let's say, epiphanies, moments of genius, leads you to something really, really positive as a success or breakthrough, etc. So the best way to turn all of these energies to your greatest advantage this week and next week, well, believing in yourself, having faith in yourself, desiring your salvation, or simply desiring the help of the universe or something really positive and helpful to enter your life, is going to matter very, very, very much. But this isn't the kind of passive energy where we just daydream, where we just hope and wish and stay up in the clouds. No, this is more like a realistic energy when we just have to insist on something which can actually be achieved in a very rational way. Because that is exactly how you attract Jupiter's influence. You know, when we daydream about something extremely big, way too big, for example, to become a movie star overnight or anything which is like not totally impossible, but it's extremely improbable. That usually takes a lot of years of alchemizing. But this kind of energy has to be like realistic. For example, let's say you're a highly skilled professional, but you just couldn't find a job for months and months. And this is where you just want to do it. You believe in yourself. You know that you have skills. And that is exactly how this element of good fortune is going to make it that much easier for you. And where your luck didn't shine upon you all those months, this is where it can turn around in a very miraculous and quick way. And as I said, that Mars standing still is a big ally right now. Now, of course, for certain people, the influence of Mars may not be the most positive one. Because, you know, it all depends on us how we use it. It can equally be frustration. It can equally be self-hate, being at war with ourselves, being at war with the world, being at war with, you know, everything that limits us. But right now that would be so very unwise, especially that we are going to have so much of that energy all throughout the autumn. But this is exactly what we're not gonna have, this small window of opportunity for these blessings and for our faith, for what we believe in to enter reality. But as I said, as long as it's realistic or aligned with logic. But of course, we also have a tensionate aspect in the sky, but I do believe that this is one of the most positive, and under the present circumstances, it is a very, very needed energy because Neptune opposes the Sun. Now this, regardless of how we look at it, it is a massive wake-up call when the heavens simply are inviting us to abandon our illusions, to wake up to reality, to somehow reach the surface when we are being immersed in, infinite oceans of emotions, of dreams, of fantasy, everything that is unrealistic. Well, of course, sometimes we do need that because that is a major source of happiness and contentment in our lives. But when we need to take action, when we need to do something urgently, then we do need this very powerful wake-up call and return to reality. But because the Sun receives that trine from Jupiter and, Neptune also sextiles Jupiter, this is going to be a very gentle, a very positive expression. For example, maybe a good friend of yours or someone gives you an advice, a feedback, a reflection, but if done so in a very gentle and honest manner, it simply empowers you, and instead of feeling down, feeling heartbroken, feeling like you were naive, instead you see it as what a wonderful opportunity to change and to do things differently, especially on the inside. Another expression of this energy, this is where you can finally stand up for yourself and say, I'm no longer a victim, I no longer choose to allow my pain and traumas, suffering, past disappointments and failures to determine who I am. It can also represent the energy of forgiveness, where it doesn't matter how other people wronged you, hurt you, put you down, you just say, well, those people no longer matter for my soul, so I release them, I forgive them. They simply don't matter to me anymore, neither in a negative or positive way. Now, most astrologers interpret this energy, this opposition between the Sun and Neptune, in a slightly different manner, because, it can also represent service to others, a sacrifice, a gesture, an offer, a service that you have to do many times for free, many times unconditionally, because Neptune can represent the source, it can represent the divine, karmic contracts, soul contracts. So yes, in the life of some people it will manifest as others asking for their help, and this is where you have to choose to help, you have to choose to be generous, you have to choose to help them, even at the cost of your sacrifice unconditionally, because this can represent a karmic moment, a karmic test, or maybe a karmic challenge where the divine looks at your heart. But of course, for those people for whom self-sacrifice and just giving and giving and giving is the normality, because Virgo also represents, our everyday lives, of what normality, routine means for us personally. For them, this energy has to manifest in the opposite way, where, people swarm them and leech them and help me, do this for me, do this favor, do that favor, I need your help again, etc. And this is where those people have to say, well, right now, I need my own energy, I need my own time, I need my own generosity, I need my own support, so I'm really sorry, I have to serve myself. So this really, really depends on how your life is, what the role you play. So for some people, this is like a karmic divine invitation to be compassionate, to be there for others, to sacrifice, to be generous, to serve others unconditionally. But for those people who do this on an everyday basis, it's the total opposite, when finally they have to stand up for themselves and enforce their own boundaries and limits, set limits. And yet another expression of this energy, well, this is where Virgo can be seen as your physical body. So this is such a good energy to quit addictions, to stop escapism, to detox, to introduce very, very healthy, useful and beneficial new routines in your life. For those people who are not that very spiritual, it can be a perfect moment to introduce a small spiritual gesture in their everyday routines. For example, a prayer of gratitude, or just sitting down 20 minutes with yourself and listening to your feelings and your thoughts. And for other people who are all spiritual each and every day, and they might do it in a very excessive way, well, then this can be the total opposite, when they have to introduce something else in their lives as well. For example, a necessary evil, like going out with friends, socializing, etc. Because people who are deeply, deeply spiritual might not really like all these things and might find them really uncomfortable. But this is balance. This is about a healthy balance in your life. And for a lot of us, this opposition between Sun and Neptune is the perfect opportunity for this. But we're gonna be having Neptune-Sun oppositions every year until 2026, when Neptune leaves its home sign of Pisces. So this is like a big work in progress to find an ideal balance in your life, especially your everyday routines. And yet a final expression of this energy, well, this is where the Sun also receives trines from Pluto and Saturn, which means that Neptune receives sextiles from the same planets, and this can also play out as a very powerful wake-up call to terminate soul contracts which are no longer working in your life. And sometimes this can actually take on a physical expression. For example, terminating a contract, going ahead and proceeding with a divorce. Because a contract can be extremely karmic as well. We may think that it's just a piece of paper, but the word that we give, the promise that we make, has a lot of power, especially karmically. So many times, just terminating this inside ourselves, inside our souls, our minds, etc., is not enough to end the energy, to end the connection. Sometimes we have to end it physically, as in truly break the contract in physical reality. Or if it's not a contract, then we have to say the words that I'm really sorry, you no longer belong in my life, or anything similar. It has to be actually expressed and lived, and that is the force which terminates these contracts. But since this is just a Neptune and Sun opposition, this is when we become aware of what we have to do, and then later on in September, when the Sun would have moved into the sign of Libra, and it will receive a lot of tensionate aspects from there, it will be those squares, and of course opposition with Mars, which is going to be the time for action when we actually do it physically. Or if we do it right now, it is only then when it's going to have true effect. For example, especially if it's like a job that needs to be terminated, maybe this can be a period of notice, and then the contract truly ceases later on in September. But if it contracts that we're speaking of, well, Mercury is already in the sign of Libra, so as it moves forward, as it transits further, it will oppose Mars at a given moment, and that can be a powerful time to terminate everything that no longer serves us, especially from a legal perspective. That will be like a massive decluttering of all of our legal relationships, so to speak. So thank you so much for listening. In conclusion, I really advise everyone to seize this opportunity of good fortune, or better said, change of fortune, that the heavens bestow on us all throughout this week and next week. And if you are guided to, buy a lottery ticket. If your intuition screams at you to do something, even if it's a silly or laughable gesture, by all means do it, follow it, because you never know. What not is very advised is for that gesture to be something ridiculous, as in a massive risk, giving away all your money or selling all your stuff and hitting the roads or something really, really dramatic like that, because that is really not favored by the stars, because Venus is in Leo, so sometimes our passions can lead us to the most unfavorable direction. So we have to truly discern what truly comes out of intuition and what is just, the tricks of the heart, because just as the mind can have certain illusions, etc., the heart is no different, especially that the heart has an even stronger electromagnetic field than the mind. So I'm talking about very small gestures, exactly like the buying of a lottery ticket. The investment is so very insignificant. Or if you dream to go to a certain location at a certain time which is really close to where you live, you have nothing to lose really. Or for example, if you dream or anything like that to visit a place where you really enjoyed in your childhood and that visit is not impossible or doesn't require any sacrifices. But it can also be to apply for a job, for example, which may seem to be out of your league because you don't have the qualifications or the self-confidence or the experience, etc. This is where Jupiter can reward you for your boldness and bravery. Or if you're into spirituality, metaphysics, the paranormal, well then use everything in your knowledge. Do everything that you possibly can think of. Any ritual, any technique, any meditation, anything that you feel guided and inspired to do, because this is when Jupiter goes out of retrograde, so that can represent manifestation, especially while being in Capricorn. Yes, on one hand, Jupiter is debilitated. It is in fall. It is not very strong in the sign of Capricorn, but that is not a bad sign, because Jupiter loves excess. Jupiter loves to expand things, even on a cosmic level. So when it's limited, at least you know that the manifestation has measure to it. It has balance to it. So it's not a bad thing. If you enjoyed this horoscope and would like a personal reading, just log on to 1millionnights.com and find your dedicated advisor. And we also have a very special promotion all throughout the month of September, where if you buy any of our prepaid packages, you get 10% bonus. Thank you again, and until next time, bye for now.